Someone asked actually a question about this one. Getting an email append is when you acquire email addresses from your donor database. You look up your land address and matching it with a database of email addresses. So this certainly is a really quick and easy way and a cost-effective way to grow your email file very much dramatically, though the response on this type of donor when you actually acquire it from a paid list versus an organic way is a lot lower, though the cost to do it is negligible compared to that. Most of the organizations that we've worked with who've done these actually make up the cost within 6 months to a year about the original append, and we're seeing actually that donors may not be giving to the emails yet, but we're seeing their direct mail response lift because of it. So it really does create a more productive relationship that the more you're able to communicate between both channels, as long as it's coordinated, is really effective. And then last, the old-fashioned way is having it a PS in your direct mail or a buck slip, everything else. And again, these we find could be the most productive out of all the email addresses. When you get a donor actually give you their email address, that means they're ready for online communications and they're going to be a little bit more responsive than just say the email append group. We did test one last part of this was email acquisition for an organization, City Meals. They have a pretty well-known brand in New York City, and we bought a magazine list for them, an email magazine list. And we were able to get, this is the best we were able to do so far in any email acquisition. We're constantly testing it. We got 20 cents of return on the dollar, which, depending on how those donors respond in the future, that might actually be an acceptable return. But again, most email acquisition lists have not turned out that well for organizations that we've tried it with, and they're still not yet there. Could they be there in a couple of years from now? Certainly, as more and more people are online, but we've definitely tested this for probably a dozen different organizations, and this is the best result we've seen from it, just to make sure that channel hasn't changed.
Adage number 6, people give to people. So this is kind of one of those, we're all fundraisers. We know that people give to people, or if you're the ASPCA and you're raising money for animals, it's going to be the stories of the puppies and kittens. But the stories and the pictures that tug on the heartstrings are what work in fundraising. And we all know that. And this is just as true in email as it is in traditional direct mail and other fundraising media. I mean, the difference is, again, you can't start out your email program, your relationship with someone via email by immediately throwing the stories at them and asking for money and showing them the compelling pictures. You have to start by building the relationship and by cultivating them and making them feel like there's something valuable in this email program and being involved with you.
So some few examples here, just a reminder, really tell those stories. I think this is where the parallel is so important, and making sure every time you're going out there and making sure you're telling that story, reminding the donors what their donations are being spent on and who they're helping really is an effective way. So really kind of playing up the human interest. Also, for animal organizations, puppies and kittens usually work as well, especially for animal lovers too, and thinking about that. It really is an effective medium to cultivate and create stewardship with your donors that you really couldn't do with direct mail before. You can't, you wouldn't be able to send out just a straight cultivation piece without, the cost would be too great. So online, we're able to do that. Another way to get donors, as I mentioned several times, Matching Gift has become very effective online. It's creating, especially for an organization like the Smithsonian that doesn't really have any urgency, but we're able to create urgency with a Matching Gift campaign because there's a deadline to get that match or they lose it. So this is certainly a really effective way online to have that urgency where you normally sometimes some organizations can't create that. Not everyone has a disaster all the time, and fortunately not so, but at least a match is another way to do that. And then also another way to just kind of collect those email addresses, and I mentioned earlier, and there's some examples of those. So, having a monthly, weekly, or a daily, really to engage people with photos and quotes and recipes for depending on your organizations, but you really do want to motivate people. And these are certainly ways you can do that by getting in their inboxes. The repetition really makes a huge difference.
And adage number 7, it's okay that all of my donors are dying off because a new contingent is waiting in the wings. Now, I started in fundraising right out of college in 1980, and for the first probably 2 decades or 2.5 decades of my career, this was a very comforting thing to be able to tell our clients who would probably about once a week would panic, and they'd look at their donor list and say, my goodness, all of our direct mail donors, all of our best donors, we just did a survey there. The average age is 69.8 or 70.2, and what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years when many of them have passed away? And we could pat them on the back and say, don't worry, in 5 or 10 years, when today's 55-year-olds and 60-year-olds are 65 and 70, they are going to age into that prime giving time of their lives. They are going to be just as responsive to your fundraising, to your direct mail, as right now your 70-year-olds are. And I got to see that happen over and over again for a period of decades. And something did start to change, and I can't quite put my finger on exactly when, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, but it started to change, that there are a number of, and we all know this, there are a number of pretty profound shifts underway, that people are behaving differently, they're interacting, they have different views of charities, they're interacting differently with charities, and they're using more media and different media and lots of different media at the same time. So they're responding to different things, or they're responding to kind of multiple media, and it's gotten very complicated. It's gotten difficult, and to segment your donor groups and to be using all these different media at once to try to do the very best that you can to engage today's donor and looking ahead at tomorrow's donor. The good news is that you can make it all work together. I mean, it's hard work, it's complicated, but there's the cliche of the multi-channel fundraising program, and the cliche, it's a cliche, but it's also true. And you can use traditional mail, you can use the online, use email and other online tools, and now the burgeoning the social media, and we think the mobile marketing in the future, and you can do better, even better than you're doing today with the people who support your organization and who are engaged by your cause.
So, as I mentioned earlier, so the response rate of multi-channel, higher average gift, better response. Well, a lot of people talk about what multi-channel is and what a multi-channel program is. I'm going to show you an example of one that actually walks the walk and talks it too, and it really does. It just finished on March 31st. All right, so this is an example of a cold weather matching gift campaign for Covenant House that launched in early March. We waited for the temperatures to drop in cold weather cities that they had locations in. So if you can see, I don't know if you can make that out. It says Toronto 19 degrees, Buffalo 20 degrees, Detroit 20 degrees, Dallas 29 degrees. Waited for the temperatures to drop and send out the email to launch the entire campaign of the matching gift and for cold weather. So there had the matching gift up front and center. After the matching gift came the direct mail letter, directly with a website landing page for direct mail donors. We're seeing not a ton of, but this link, when we put this in, is growing every year that they do this campaign. And this is actually, so it's one of those things where we're kind of reinforcing the channel, reminding people they can go online. One part that so many people forget about what multi-channel is the website. If you have a prominent fundraising campaign, you need to make sure it's on your homepage. It is really important. 50% of donors go onto your website before they make a gift, either on or offline, before they decide to make that donation. So having it on your website is so important, and so many nonprofits forget that. So if you're having a really important campaign, certainly make sure it's on your website. And also, if you can repeat it throughout your website. So here's another example of all the interior pages were reminding people about this match that was going on. So if someone came to their website and started to peruse around, they were going to be reminded that the match was going on during that time, and making sure that they were at least reminded of it to make an action. We also reminded people on social networking. Now, this is not certainly a big area for them to raise a ton of money. They are raising some, but we're seeing that social networking, there's actually a study out in England just recently that social networking is impacting people's giving. A small percentage of it, but it's starting to impact people's giving. That if you actually have somebody on your social network, it is having a positive effect on their long-term fundraising value for an organization. It's a really early study, but it certainly goes with the understanding of multi-channel. And so making sure that repetition of the campaign was on Facebook also. We tweeted about it too, and we got some people to donate from there, and having that repetition on their Twitter account too. And then also their search engine marketing ads all were tied to that. So if someone typed in runaway teens or homeless kids or any of their mission-specific keywords, there was an ad running that went to a landing page that reminded them about the $1 million match again. And all this kind of coordinated together. Finally, when someone was ready to kind of seal the deal and make the gift, we reminded them one last time on the donation form that the donation form said about the campaign. It's so important to have all these different pieces to go together: your direct mail, your email, your search engine marketing, your social networking from Facebook to Twitter to your website, and having it sprinkled around the website, and not having it be just one place, but having it be everywhere. That is what multi-channel is all about. This campaign raised they had to raise $1 million, and $250,000 came from the web and online components of it, and the rest came from direct mail, and that's grown exponentially because all the multi-channel working together. Are you removing people from mailings? So just say if you send out an email, are you removing them from the direct mail, I guess, and vice versa? And so what we're seeing is that there's having a positive effect with the repetition of both email and mail. And what we've done is it's really all about timing and scheduling. You don't want it to fall on top of each other. You want it to be spread out. You want an email sometimes to introduce a campaign or to end a campaign. But what we're only removing people who have given to the campaign during that time frame, especially from the online, since we can immediately take them off the next emailing. And from the direct mail, of course, the time lags a little bit longer, so it's not as easy to take them off, but we will try our best.
Are you authorized to use email addresses that say you collect at an event? That there are obviously different ways to collect email addresses, and use the example of getting a card at an event. No matter what the collection method is, whether it's an append, whether it's on your website, in your direct mail, a card at an event, you have to make sure that the individual is very clearly opting in to your email program, and be very clear about what aspects of your email program they are opting into. You have to really honor their wishes, and so you would, in the example of collecting cards at an event, you would want to say, if you'd like to be part of our, if you have a clever name of your e-newsletter, for instance, if you'd like to receive this free information about our organization and this e-newsletter, give us your card.
The one thing we've done with organizations who've done similar things, maybe they did not ask that, we send out an email and ask them if they want to be part of the program before you'd actually just put them in the program. You never want to dump anybody into a program, but opting in is the best practice. Someone signing up for an email newsletter, making sure that they get the immediate confirmation, but then a follow-up. Sometimes we do like a 1-2 punch. It could be a follow-up to what they're getting, but for like a welcome email, and then actually get a special version of a newsletter. So we usually do it's the immediate confirmation, making sure that they signed up, a welcome, and then maybe a special version of the newsletter. What we also do is a special online acknowledgement series too for some clients. So for instance, someone makes their gift, they get their immediate confirmation, they made their donation, and then a couple weeks later we send them a special acknowledgement and thanks them particularly for their gift, have the gift amount in there, and then we put a couple other options in there. Sometimes we'll promote monthly giving, sometimes we'll promote e-cards, social networking, and giving them an opportunity to really explore the website even further.
And we're not this hard and fast, but some email experts will say you should have at least 4 communications that are not fundraising before you ask for money. Some people say 5, but kind of in that range.
The question is it easier to get around spam filters, especially with all these blasts? Definitely utilizing the email software out there enhances that. They have a throttling system that sends them out in a way that sends them individually, so they're not going in this mass, you send 100,000 emails. We have one organization that has a list of 500,000. We end up having to send it out in the really early hours because it takes almost all morning to get the entire list out, and we send it out in the various different segments. If you're having a campaign that has a microsite, and a microsite is sometimes when you create a special site, it could be about fundraising, it could be about a single topic versus your website. It really varies depending on the campaign. So, when you're on your website, you want the donate now to go directly to that donation form. You don't want to have an extra click at any time you can. But if you're having a campaign and you want to send them and introduce them to the campaign, then I certainly say that having them go to that microsite, making sure though the donation form is in the microsite template so it doesn't change while they're having that user experience. It has a very seamless one.
In almost all cases, you would have a link to the donation page. I mean, there are certain examples where we've said, no, the very first time we won't even have a link to donate, but that's very unusual. So you have the opportunity, but you don't directly make the case.
Harry,
absolutely.
I think we're out of time.
Yep, we're out of time. This has been a great group, and we want to thank you.
We'll stick around if you have any more questions. Thank you.